All right, welcome to the Weston County Commissioners meeting of December 20th, 2022. Garrett, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I think everybody needs to stay warm. We'll remind you of these courthouses, just leave some water on everywhere. Before you have an agenda, are there any changes or additions to this agenda?
Yes, I got a credit card pre-authorization request from the fairgrounds after the agenda was made, so.
Shall we just put it under old business because we talked about it before?
Sure.
Or do you want to put it on consent?
It's for an Adobe subscription for $189.
We just talked
One
about
that she
Adobe
asked
already.
about already.
Let's just put it under consent. Okay, any other additions or changes to the agenda?
There are some vacancy on the fairway. Was there some
Not yet.
request?
It won't be until the first meeting in January, then it'll be, I have 2 applications, but Nate doesn't go off at the end of December.
That's the same thing. Go ahead.
Under new business, maybe just a quick update on the WCCA virtual meeting we had last week.
Could we also put on maybe just an update on where we are, what the maintenance guy told them?
We've had no applications.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay, are there any other changes or additions? I don't know where we're going on that one. We have
Okay, on what?
on the lawsuit. I haven't heard anything. Okay, so we'll leave that.
Approve the agenda as discussed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as updated. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed say no. Motion has passed. Here are things for us to sign on the consent agenda. Anybody want to pull anything from that consent agenda?
This Jeremiah one.
Jeremiah looked at this.
Said it was good to go. The one I sent him was for town. We estimated for the county. Said it looks good. We cannot bring the tribal funds in because that one we cannot do from lost revenue. He said we could eventually do something different with it, but it is not included in that. That's just the park.
Okay, that was the question I think a couple of us had. Concerning the
Just ARPA, but not tribal.
Okay, good to know.
We'll handle that different, I guess.
I'm passing down the consent items. If anybody wants to look at those, once somebody is like that. You guys see this down there? You guys see it? Shuffle and shuffle.
Don't think it works that way.
But I think it's
We haven't approved this item.
Tony, oh, my bad.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Agenda and the consent?
Or the consent.
Oh, no.
Is there a second?
No, Don just
Okay.
did.
It's been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Martin didn't.
Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is passed. A lot of twos today.
I want to make us so that you can out on.
We have a balance this page.
Michael, how are you? How's it going?
Oh, Mr. Stolten.
Willingness?
I think in August.
It's changed hands so much in the last couple of years.
It's never been done. Oh, I don't think, yeah, I try. Yeah, I do it, but kind of without the board's approval, this is the actual approval. Yeah,
How rude.
That one's thoughtful of you.
yeah.
You didn't know you had done it.
Didn't hit me, so yeah, after I thought about it.
Asking you money to excuse. I didn't know I had done it.
Didn't realize it.
Yeah. I think I did the day I did it, and then I forgot for about 6 months.
Tony.
I'm like, everyone's here. Don't be rude.
That's okay. As long as it got signed. That's all right.
Bring the checkbook with you, Tony.
Should be on the ball.
You got that.
Are you on the checking account too?
Yeah. Short time, Tony, remove it.
Right.
Dawn or in the padded.
You need to remind me of archive my email.
Yeah, I already have, and I've already got your guys' email addresses. Remind me to give them to you today before you leave. Your password.
Remember that it is public. That email is public.
Charles has to archive it. So much to do. So, it's a little time. forget, you all need to be here, be sworn in, 8 o'clock.
Precinct people too?
They do? I don't, they've never been here before.
You might want to check them.
That's an oversight on this one.
Howdy.
Good morning.
It's a nice wonderful facility. Go ahead. Please come on in and help lock the door.
Can we set up here?
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome to sit up there. Just remember,
Oh, not that chair.
okay, Jimmy, you're up. Please state your name for the video. Okay, you're up. Would you like to approve those? That permit? I think we do.
Make a motion to approve the approach permit as proposed by Road and Bridge Superintendent Jim Hanson.
Is there a second?
Second.
All moved and seconded to approve approach permit as drawn up by the Road and Bridge. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Might get a chance to look at it. Might not have a chance to look at it.
And you're okay? Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion has passed. Thank you for your work on that. We really appreciate it. I think that will help us in the future.
Well, I visited the T-Square, and they scheduled traffic scheduled for the North River.
Good. All the way from Highway 16 to where?
I told him probably the first 3 miles.
Good.
I
Okay.
think I'm probably somewhere in there.
Okay. Awesome.
I visited with Jerry Williams, engineer of the Bridge Culvert project. He said he's kind of put that on the back burner until the first of the year. He said he had some things to finish up and then we'll work on it. Most of the engineering was done on it anyway. Basically, we need the prices, decided where we're going to go as far as culverts. That's what I think. So he did inquire if we wanted to stick with the same construction time. We wanted to wait till September next year. That was kind of a Jerry Carl one. That was when the cows were moving out of there. He said if we did move it up, we might change some things and might have to do some different arrangements. I told him we'd probably go ahead and wait till September. When it first comes over, so we take those off that soon. Give us something for them, you don't have a problem.
Go ahead.
Seems to me like that's just, you're kind of winding down from them big thunderstorm events that can really drive a project like that.
That's usually the time of year we try to do stuff like that, in between rain and snow, so. usually-
Any other questions for him?
When I visited with Tom with True North Steel yesterday, it sounded like they are going to put a slow credit on this culvert, so they're trying to find somebody that will buy them for scrap, so they can recover a little bit of their money on it. When you do that, it's culvert's good enough to get traffic over them. We're kind of in limbo now until it warms up a little bit, maybe we can go up there and do a little more, but can't get traffic over it, so. I visited with Scott Taylor this morning on Road 85, and he said he's working on the paperwork. He was working on it this morning. Go ahead and apply for the full $3 million. We'll plan on doing a full debt for $3 until it can pay and limited culvert replacement on it. So that's what we're working on.
Good. That's what we need to be.
I did do the viewers report for Barton Road. I've got a group read it. Some other things that that's done. I would have it done, but we never kind of changed that last one.
What one?
We looked out pretty good.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. To be honest, we did look out.
Well, I guess that's my report.
Okay. Any questions for Jimmy? Go ahead.
How's the place holding up?
Our newest John Deere is in Rapid. I didn't come get it all the way down there. It's got a oil leak. They have to open it and fix it. It's all warranty work. It cost us anything. We've lost hydraulic hoses on 3 blades in the last week. So. We're keeping them running, I guess.
Good weather.
Yeah, it's usually when it happens, it seems like.
Well, nothing breaks down in the warm for hot.
Yeah. So we're pretty lucky we didn't get some a lot of people got.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it. It's been a joy to work with you. Probably see you on the road. And I'll wave with all fingers.
Okay.
Nice change.
If she has mittens on, you won't know.
No, I never felt that way, you know that. I've always admired the road and bridge of this county, and we have some of the best roads in the state, and other counties will tell you that. So that's something to be very, very proud of. So I appreciate your work you've done. Okay.
Stick around.
Stick around for the next 3 or 4. Able to do that?
You're here for the whole meeting.
Get yourself a cup of coffee. Let's jump in.
Want to see?
We're about 10 minutes early. Do you have anybody coming in?
So this is Chris Fair.
Right.
So,
I assumed that. Because we can wait if there's other. Do you have other people perhaps coming in?
I called several people, but I don't know who's going to make it. So,
Okay, well, if that's the idea, then let's take a break until 9:30. Okay, the hour being 9:30. Next on our agenda is a gravel pit at Beaver Creek. We have had complaints. Thank you. And your name is?
Yeah, good morning, Chairwoman Urban and members of the commission. My name is Chris Fair. I'm the manager of Prism Logistics. Prism Logistics is a sand and gravel operator based out of Casper. Inception 2021. I, born and raised, reside in Gillette. Formerly, the asset that we're referencing, what's known as our bore pit, was purchased from Melgard Construction. So Prism Logistics came in inception 2021 with the purchase of the Melgard Construction mining assets. So just a little bit of background.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. So I'm going to turn the floor to Vera because Vera came to us about some complaints that are happening on Beaver Creek.
Okay.
So I'll let her know.
okay, thank you. I had mentioned this to the board a couple weeks ago, but and some of my neighbors are here on Beaver Creek. We have been putting up with a lot with the gravel trucks. The dust is really bad. Seems like the trucks go in threes for some reason. They start about 5:30 in the morning and go to 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. They use their jake brakes, so I know that they're probably driving way too fast. They drive recklessly sometimes. The main issue I feel like is a safety issue. Not only our health because of the dust that hangs in the valley all day long, but if you meet those trucks on the road, you will have to come to a dead stop because you cannot see to drive. I feel like there's probably going to be an accident if something's not done. It's tearing up our road. We have big rocks coming up out of the road bed. I've never seen that before, and we've been out there for 20 some years. Never seen that happen before. We just have concerns all around that nothing's really been done to be responsible as far as the trucks go and how they're affecting the road and the people that live on it.
Any other neighbors on Beaver Creek have a statement?
I agree with Vera. I mean,
Could you state your name?
Please.
Bruce Hamilton.
Thank you.
I live at 469 Beaver Creek Road. And the thing about it is, like she said, they run in 3s or 4s. And you can't see what's behind them. They're overrunning their speed by using their gate. And it seems like every time I go by in front of my house, there's about 3 of them that just rattle all the way by. There's no sense for it. Nobody else ever does that. I got hay trucks to go by, cattle trucks to go by. Nobody else uses their gates for somebody driving.
Okay, any other? Are you a neighbor?
Yep. Brad Plaga, 405 Beaver Creek. Same sentiment, same problem, same complaint.
Okay, any comments from the commissioner? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Patty Bartlett, I live
Thank
at
you.
532 Beaver Creek Road, same thing. And it's really hard on the cars where it's come all the way down to the base of the road. There's one spot where there's actually, the rocks are real high, you know, coming up over it. The gravel's completely gone.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Is there any comments from the board? Go ahead.
I guess this may be Chris, and you may not have the answer on this top of your head, but do you know, like on a percentage increase, are you guys using more out of that pit? Are you hauling more tonnage out of there than Melgard was? Is that some of the problem?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. You know, the pit came into inception in like 2017, and then of course that was when it was the limited mine operation was established. The mine area was opened in 2019, and at which time 2019 and 2020 shipments were greater than what we've seen, what we've experienced as Prism Logistics. Then in 2020, the tail end of 2019 into 2020, and then the first part of 2021, the downturn within the primary market is into the oil field. The downturn there at the 1920, the first part of 2021, what happened? COVID, right? That shipments were way down at our inception of Prism Logistics, and then shipments picking back up to where they were, you know, in essence, there in 2019 with the inception of the mine area. I appreciate and value the discussion, and because I look forward to meeting the neighbors. I know they're sitting behind me, but I'd like to meet them in person as well. And you know, if this is the format as to which we meet, that's okay. But yeah, any further question there?
So you'd say it's down compared to what it was back in
I would say
19.
where we sit here at the end of 2022, we're back to, in essence, operational capacity as to what we saw at the inception when Melgard put the mine into operation. Correct.
Are they typically your drivers, or
These trucks are not.
Or
None
contract
of these trucks are my trucks. Prism Logistics is a mining company. Prism Logistics does not hold any trucks in our fleet. The logistics component that we serve is, say you call with a gravel need, I can broker trucks. I can make the call to customer or company A, B, or C to try to help service that need. But yet when the gravel sales, those come from the customers, and the customers provide their trucks. Now, at that same time, steward the resource well. Man, I apologize for any. I apologize on behalf of Prism Logistics that they weren't adherent to the speeds. I think if that is in fact the case, and I don't disagree with that, yet at the same time, I recognize that the sheriff would have some opportunity to enforce some of that as well out there. From my perspective, where I provide enforcement as the company is that when they come on to my mine operations or my landowners, those rules and regulations are set. You will perform as such. But yet, yeah, like there is a tangible differentiation between when they leave the site, that we have a working relationship with those customers, but they're just not my trucks. Not that I say I can't help influence that.
Is there a speed limit on that road, Jimmy? So that's something we would have to go down that process, which is gonna affect everybody. And secondarily, was there ever any agreement with Melgard to do any dust mitigation?
I think it was just verbal.
Just verbal.
And did they do some?
They usually ran a water truck.
They did, when Melgard first started, I think they did do some dust mitigation. They were much better at taking care of that when it was first started. But this last year has been nightmarish. It really has.
What are Prism's dust suppression? What do you guys do on your facility to help mitigate dust?
Well, there's multiple facets. One, water. You know, Jim and I spoke about we run water on the hall in August. Then the other one is, you know, there's dust. Dust is a real item, and dust is measured as, in particular matter, of PM10. PM10 is dust under the EPA, you know, Clean Air Act, under the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality, Air Quality Division. PM10 is measured with what's known as a Method 9 observation. In doing Method 9 observations, it is a certification, whereas you watch and learn how to read what the dust is from your emission source. Now, from a road, it's a little different because it's not like a stack. Whereas you take a point in that road with a contrasting background, and you observe, okay, here's when the dust is generated, here's what this reads, and then the average over that minute period as to what that rating would be. The component there in doing the Method 9s on the road is that, yes, initially that is the dust is generated, and I don't disagree with that discussion. The other one being is that the Method 9s that have been performed on the road that I've done, they're all within the PM10 20 micrograms per milligram rating. So they meet the less than 20% visual opacity for that reading period. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
Bruce, you think they're doing over 35 when they come by your house?
No, definitely. I'll tell you what, I don't know, I think the speed limit is 45 mile an hour. But that's in a passenger car pickup. And them trucks pulling pups behind them and stuff, they shouldn't be running over 30, 35. Period. And then they wouldn't be running their loud jakes and everything else.
So I think maybe a good start would be for us to, Jimmy can.
You know, and as far as the sheriff being out there and enforcing the speed limit, he ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, because it hasn't gone through a speed study, there's probably not a speed limit on it other than what the state regulated, which is 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I think we need to go through them. Go ahead.
I don't know how we go about doing it, but I know like in local areas that you can put signage up that jakes are not permitted, but I don't know if that would be the same basis of the speed study too, but you see it sometimes when you come into town in local areas, jake breaks off, but the number of trucks, I know the reason for that is because the loader operator's trying to load 3 trucks instead of coming down off the hill and then going back up. It's usually in groups and going to a job site. That's why they're running in 3s, 4s, or 5s, or whatever the number of trucks are there. But, you know, going back to what you're saying within your parts per million for your dust suppression. So does that mean if it meets those, you do no dust suppression in that pit, or is
No,
there...
what I wanted to do was observe and see is this, because as we know, as was stated, it sits within the valley. Wanted to make that a Method 9 observation to see, okay, what is it doing? Does it require a next level assessment or the next level treatment? Speaking to the speed limit, one thing I would like before the county, you know, invests like speed study or signage or those additional things. What I can take back as the operator of the mine is to my customers, this is what we expect the speed to be. And, okay, because what has been assumed in the discussion that I've been involved in with them is that the 45 was the speed limit. Now, yes, drive to conditions, and here's some variability in that, but yet, all right, let me work with those guys to adjust to be more cognizant of that.
Well, that would be a good start. And if you were in a residential area in a city zoning, it would be 35.
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
more or less going to be under those same typical conditions. I mean, there's a lot of people on Beaver Creek. A lot of approaches, all that. And so just even being cognizant of the dust and all that. I think if you would go back and see what you've done on the road and see when the last time that we have, pull it.
I did want to address something Bruce said. I had a blade running on that road, and I pulled it off when they started hauling out of there to try to help with the dust a little bit.
About 8 months ago.
No,
I don't think anybody bladed that road for.
the tie bladed from 4 corners down 2 bores. I'd say I.
About going
Well,
back from
we're local
north to
Well, I
south.
know, that's what I'm saying. I pulled him off of there when they started running the trucks because it would have made the dust.
Have you been up that road recently?
Okay, let's keep it
Every
down. Let's keep it down.
But I pulled the blade off there because it would have made it that much dustier without being able to run a wire truck up there.
So you're admitting to, I mean, the dust is,
Yeah, that's
right
why I
now,
pulled the blade
wintertime, it's not gonna be as bad and they're not hauling right now. But as soon as it dries and warms up a little bit, it's not gonna be May when it starts, it'll be February. If it's dry, it'll start, but in the summertime, I'm worried about people who aren't used to a road. At least we know those trucks are there. There's a lot of tourists and people going up and down that road. It's on the Beaver Creek Loop tour, and we have older people. It's dangerous.
Go ahead.
I know the contractors, they all get paid by the ton. Are they, when the scales, the DOT's not out scaling trucks, are they the trucks running overweight coming out of your pit? Because it sounds like the road is getting beat up pretty bad too. If they're running overweight trucks, that's deteriorating our road too. 'Cause I know I've hauled out of some quarries where you have your max weight and they won't load you. You can't get across scale if you're over that. Are they adhering to their weight limits that they're allowed?
So that's a great question. The trucks as to which Prism Logistics we load to in essence what's the W permit weights based on the capacity of what they can haul. Now, that's by no means do I intend to ship trucks that are running illegal.
Yeah, because
that's a
every
good point.
configuration's got different weights they can run.
Right.
And they're in the interior bridge because there's some little bridges out there too. Their interior bridge can destroy the bridges too.
I'm concerned about
Just
the
a moment,
bridge.
Chief.
We need to,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just
just
Just to
a
keep
reminder
this as
to
it is.
everybody that, if you'd like to speak, let's get permission from the chair so we can kind of keep this a simple conversation. In an ideal world, we'd just go out there and mag that road. The reality is that would cost twice probably what the road and bridge entire budget is to do that. And then you'd be done with the dust problem, but you'd have 70-mile-an-hour trucks because it'd be like a highway out there. So there's just not a good answer to that. I appreciate Mr. Fair, saying that he can talk to his truck drivers a little bit. I think maybe we ought to try to get a speed study done on that. And then I think, and I could be completely off base on this, but I think that dust would fall underneath some emergency rules to where you could set a speed limit at different times of the year that was lower. And I know when it gets dry, I know exactly what you're talking about. You blade that road, you're just going to make that dust 10 times worse. And the good thing about a crappy road is you got to drive slow on it, and it helps with the dust a little bit. But you blade that road, and I've seen it. It's just a dust bowl. So there's no easy answer, and it's not a good solution. I don't have a good solution, but that's the best I can say.
Go ahead.
During the time that they're hauling, is there any way to make a requirement that they water the road so it helps some? Or is that not a possibility? Because it really was dangerous this summer that you did have to stop. It was like being in a snowstorm. And, took a few minutes. I followed a car that was driving 50 on that road. And it does the same thing with dryness. But when those trucks are hauling, I don't know what the expense is. I don't know that we can ask it. Just a suggestion.
Go ahead.
That's it's basically a public highway. County road is similar to a public highway, and so, it'd be the same as me requiring you to plow a highway to get to town, we can't do that, and we've tried doing some of that before, and, you could put, 3 water trucks on that full time and not keep the dust down, when you get, it's just in this climate, and this time, you get late August, and that humidity is at 0%, it just, half of it goes up in the air, and half of it goes right in the ground, and none of it stays in the dirt.
Go ahead.
And I figure from where we stopped from the salt pit to the bulkhead, it'd be $60,000 to knock that. But it would require gravel, that road needs gravel. Yeah, he said about the rocks, it's quite low, those rocks are coming up through and it needs a lot of gravel up through there.
Any other suggestions? Any other comments? Go ahead.
That's something you guys would be interested in partnering with us on possibly? Okay.
Yes, Chairman Merman, members of the commission, I'd be happy to consider that and partner because I recognize the value in stewarding that resource. One thing we're dealing with up in this field is simply the life of mine. Not that I look forward into a favorable life, but at the same time, it's my current. We got maybe a couple years left in the op. At the same time, what can we do right now? Okay, I'd love to look at it with Jim on what some of the road conditions are out there, and if we can bring some of that. I got a good L base in the pit. We can patch up some of those. I'd be happy to. Let's send some rock out and let's get some spots patched up and get that fixed up.
Go ahead.
It's a valuable road, it's a valuable resource for the county. Even some of the ARPA funds, if we could figure out something, a way to help use that for something like that. And if Mr. Fair is willing to help out with some rock or whatever, if we can get together and figure out something that.
So I think that's where I'll tie this up, is because we have another appointment. But we appreciate you coming in. This is sometimes, but this is the way that we can get the public to see you.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate you coming here. We appreciate the members of the community you come into and have these conversations. I would encourage you to have conversations with them, maybe out in the hallway or whatever, to get to know who they are. I'd also ask you, Jimmy, to see if you could arrange something, if he's willing to have something, and see what the county can do to help too. So, is there anything else? Go ahead.
We want to try to finish speed study down on that stretch road.
I think it'd be appropriate to have a speed study. Just put it in the list. Go ahead.
I appreciate you coming, Chris. I'm glad nobody tarred and feathered you, because really, you are an important part of the community, and we appreciate you being here. We don't.
Sorry, Chairwoman Urban, members of the commission. I sat in the front assuming I wasn't going to get tarred and feathered. With my back to the neighbors, I don't see the case. However, yes.
No takers yet.
No feathers, but there were plenty of birds.
and our number is on the deep, and I'm happy. I got some cards and happy to share in that
That'd be
discussion.
wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for
Jim and Chris, could I just get so that the public can see who you are? Jim? I can't see you, Jim.
I think this afternoon.
Thank you.
If nothing else, no.
Now the tar and feather party.
At night performance, they're coming, they're outside.
Hi.
Good morning.
Howdy.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We kind of dipped into your time a little bit, but if you would state your name for the video or for the tape, please.
Absolutely, Michael Barr.
Justin Vice, I'm in Performance
Thank you. And you are on the hot seat. Go ahead.
Awesome. So we wanted to meet with you guys today. Thank you for your time. Talk about Old Cheyenne River Road. My understanding is that the county made a determination that it's a county road. So we wanted to ask for your permission to engage with Weston County Road and Bridge for the development of a memorandum of understanding for the industrial improvement and use of that road.
Let's get Jimmy back in here if we can.
Did you need? No. Justin, what did you say your last name?
Vice with a V.
You're with Ben.
Partial. We still want to encourage people to come in. We have an open door policy. It just gets a little noisy outside. So what's the pleasure of the board? We have come to this conclusion. What's the pleasure of the board? Any discussion? Go ahead.
I think it's, Ben and I performance can get with Jimmy, you know, we can get something worked out on that road. We can get it going.
I'll give Jimmy an update about.
Go ahead.
Maybe he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Maybe they come in, you know what's going on here. They want to maybe work with you on doing an MOU on that Cheyenne River Road.
From Highway 85.
Correct.
As that is for the gentleman to establish. Go ahead. Please state your name.
Mike Harris.
Thank you.
I guess on the Cheyenne River Road deal, I assume that you're talking about the one across on the east side of the highway that connects old Highway 85 with new Highway 85.
On the, yes, yeah, from 85 to the east.
Okay, it's counsel that we have obtained Tad Daly from Gillette. He says that there is no easement there. I know that you have said that there is an easement. Tad says that there is no easement. He has asked for proof. He has asked you to come out to meet us out there. You have agreed, but we can't ever get you out there. The last that we have actually engaged is we were supposed to get Michael and the county sheriff and out to Diane and I and a couple other people out there, and we were supposed to go out to look at that, and you had agreed to a meeting, which we've never been able to get you to come out to do. I say, and I have been in the oil business, and I have had land people research this. There is no easement, we say. We've never found an easement. We've had 3 or 4 different land people. I know you say that there is an easement, but we contend that. And we have obtained legal counsel, and we will fight it. So I think that before we start to get into this, I think that we should settle if there's actually an easement. Second thing I'd like to say about that is we don't have funds for gravel, and this county, our county roads are deteriorating. All the gravel that I think that they've been talking about that's been going out to this new oil field, it comes down past through our ranch also. And I can't say that the trucks have been bad, like what we've been hearing this morning, but we have the dust. But what I can say is that there's so many spots where the gravel. I was just talking the other day to Jason. He was in the blade, and we've got so many spots where the trucks that are coming by are just completely wearing the gravel off. And a few years ago, before we graveled the road really good, we had spots. The springtime there were truck ruts that deep. There were trucks actually getting stuck on the county.
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Are you talking right now about your Cheyenne River Road concerns right now? Or are you talking about the east side?
Well, since this first come in, I'm talking about this. But I'm kind of blending it all together.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that if we don't have the gravel to gravel our existing county roads that have easements, I don't think that we need to be building new roads. There's a bridge on 85 that your company has already agreed or had tried to get the commissioners, I understand, to put in a new bridge. That was actually your first choice, the way that I understand. Is that correct?
In terms of options for accessing the property,
Right.
it was identified as a potential option.
Right.
So we engaged with an engineering company to provide a report on different ways to access the property via that route, which included rebuilding a bridge, a low water crossing, and then kind of a precast type structure. That was provided to the county.
And if I'm not mistaken, you guys did say that you would fund it yourself. It wouldn't be county funds. That you guys would rebuild the bridge, or either that or to fix something that would be acceptable for a crossing. And it was at your expense, not the county. That's what we read in some past minutes. Is that correct?
In either case, whether it be Little Cheyenne River Road or accessing via Old Highway 85, Halliburton would work with the county in making those improvements. And in terms of the total dollar spend, I believe Halliburton has agreed to fund a majority of that. But that would all be worked out in the memorandum of understanding for use of either Old Highway 85 and Dewey Road or Little Cheyenne River Road.
Okay, I see. Well, what you're being told is that there is an easement there. We're being told by our attorneys that there's a great big question mark there, and we will find it.
Okay.
So that's right.
Okay, now we're going to bring it back to
Yeah.
this side of the board. Okay. It's fine to have a discussion. I'm glad to have you have a discussion. But we're getting to a point where there might not be resolution in that part. So I need to ask Michael, where are we with it?
Well, right now, it's still the determination what we made a few months ago. I'm more than willing to have a discussion with Mr. Daly. But that's where we're at. That's the determination that's made right now. And obviously, it was an issue years and years before we looked into it again this time. So, I mean, we'll have adult conversations about it and see to make sure we're right. But right now, that's the determination. So.
Okay, thank you.
And so then on the record
Just a minute,
then.
sir. Just go ahead.
So, is there an easement, or is that still being determined? Because he's saying, are you saying there is one?
Right now, from the research that my office has done, we understand there's an easement. Yes, from
And prior research too.
yeah, and prior research from prior county attorneys as well.
Okay, go ahead.
And I read what you had written, Michael, and the way that I read it, you, and I'm no attorney, but you had not used the word easement. You used something other than the word easement. That meant that there was no easement, but that there was something that you considered to be like an easement. Is that correct?
Yeah, should clarify. Not an easement, established county road. I believe is the verbiage we actually used.
Yeah, I believe that that's right.
Okay.
And
Well,
our attorney says no, that there isn't.
okay. Well, that will have to be discussed in a different court.
Mr. Chairman, can
Go
I say
ahead.
something? In my research, it looked like back in the early 1900s, the county commissioners wanted it to be a road, but they called it the Sheep Creek Divide Road. And then it never got surveyed. And then somehow in 2018, there was a survey done. Without my knowledge, it had never been determined that there was an easement, so they should have had my permission to trespass on my private ground, and none was ever given. I didn't even know about it, but I know over a year ago, Halliburton had agreed to pay for a bridge in the commissioners' meeting, and it was subject to DOT regulations, and Halliburton agreed to meet those specifications. So I'm wondering why they want to spend the county's money now to build a road 3 or 4 or 5 miles long, and when they can't maintain the roads they have in the county now.
Okay, any discussion?
It's been my understanding that there have been conversations between Halliburton and landowners about crossing that and even the private access, and that hasn't come to fruition. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but.
Go ahead.
And I would like to say to that, Tony, I would like to say Halliburton, I do not believe would have ever have come to Diane in the first place had they not had it checked out and figured themselves that there was no easement there. And like I say, we've had numerous people. We probably had 7 people when I was in the oil business. We've had probably 4 or 5 people that always do this for a living. They come over here, they research the court out. They can find no easement. Since then, we've had other people. I've had people here in town, I won't say any, I'm not supposed to say who, but they've researched it themselves. They're in law enforcement, and they say that there is no easement. So all I'm saying is that we have had lots of people research it. We just don't think that there's an easement, and we have hired counsel.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Obviously, some of this isn't going to get resolved today, but I think it's a start that we have them here. And Michael, that you need to meet with them, in my opinion, to at least start the process. That's just my opinion. I don't know if the rest of the board opinion is, but working to get an MOU is the first part of that. But deciding whether there is or isn't probably won't get decided today.
Right.
But the first step is if you agreed to meet with them, I would say that's probably the first step to getting that going. But
Yeah, no problem with that.
So, I guess this is kind of my position, and I don't speak for the whole board on this, but, if we believe that we have an established county road, I think we need to provide access. I think that there is a mineral leasee that can bring some economic benefit to this county. I think they've got a right to go on it. And unfortunately, I think we sign this MOU and we push this issue and it goes to court. But when you have 2 parties that can't agree to the facts, that's how it gets sorted out. And so I'm going to move that we authorize Jimmy to work on an MOU with Halliburton on the road.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to ask for Jimmy, our road and bridge supervisor, to, where did it get from?
Work with Halliburton on an MOU for the
What is an MOU?
Method of,
memorandum of understanding.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Or the, do we want to call it the Cheyenne River Road or the Secret Divide Road or whatever?
Bentonville Performance Minerals is a subsidiary of Halliburton, so.
So about Halliburton.
and put, get that Cheyenne River on there.
To use Cheyenne River Road. Got it. Who seconded it?
I did. You did.
Tony moved to authorize Jim to work with Halliburton on and use the Cheyenne River Road.
Good with the second? Okay, is there any discussion?
I agree with what you're saying. I just think that if we made a commitment to the citizens to talk to them and didn't do that before we started into that conversation, I don't think that, in my opinion, this is how do you put a memorandum of understanding together without knowing all of the concerns. I think that meeting needs to happen with them before that starts. Just my opinion.
Well, I think part of my, pushback on that is that's our attorney's job and his position to do that. And I think that'll happen with Mr. Daly. So I think there's two things are going to come out of this. This MOU will happen, and then it'll go to court probably, and then the man at a higher level or lady at a higher level will say no, you can, or yes, you can't. And then the next option is we start talking about building a bridge.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Oh, go ahead.
So then the MOU then, are they going to be able to start to coming in the road until this is settled?
I would assume not. If you've got I don't know.
We don't even know what the terms of the MOU are at this point. I think it's just general initial discussions, and that's going to have to come before the board in future meetings. So it's just an initial start, I think.
Exactly. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
My assumption is that you could probably, I mean, we can start this MOU and come to an agreement, but a judge could probably stop that, any progress moving forward if your attorney couldn't.
Okay, any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Motion is passed. Okay, Jimmy, your attorney, got your marching orders. Anything else?
Just want to say thank you for your time and happy holidays.
Thank you.
And you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Come on
Be
up.
out of order here.
Oh, we're about 7 minutes off.
Can I wait a few minutes?
Yes, sir.
How long do you have?
Come on up.
Plenty of time.
Okay.
I thought I filled out more copies of these, but I gave out more details than you last time.
Okay, we can share. We can share.
So
Okay,
I got
wait.
5 of our report. Thank you.
Okay, let's bring it back. Go ahead. Will you state your name, please?
Yeah, Caleb Carter, District Manager for Weston County Natural Resource District. Are you guys know?
Okay, we have on our agenda this update on the thinning project by Mallow Camp.
Yep. So, since I was here, I thought I'd provide a copy of our annual report and our annual plan of work that we're working under as well. But for Mallow Camp, so I have been working with the board on getting a field project going, and we have.
Just a moment, please.
Yep.
Can we pick up everything on the table? So we'll let Carol have the floor. Okay, please. Thank you.
And that is scheduled for this spring. I've been in touch with the contractor Juan Flores, who is interested in doing the project, and he'll be able to bring his crew in and get that done. And that will be basically continuing across. It'll be, so about 10 years ago they did a field project on that property and basically thinned out the slope that is behind the camp, and that's what we'll be doing again. And I know one of the concerns by the board was that if we came in and took out too much, that we were going to compromise the aesthetic value of the camp, and that's certainly a big reason why people want to come there, is because it is in the timber and it's a beautiful spot. And so we've worked with Dick Terry with Wyoming State Forestry, District 1 office here, to develop a plan for that. And one of the concerns he has is that that whole slope is about 90% subalpine fir, and so we can't thin that as heavily as you can a ponderosa pine stand anyway, because it'll just be susceptible to blow down, and we'll have all those trees just start blowing down on that slope. And so basically what we're going to do is we'll come in on that slope and we'll thin it out. We'll take out any dead or damaged or dying trees, and any regen, which is the small trees, we'll take those out. Anything under about 6 inches, I believe, is we're going to be cutting off that slope. So all those larger trees that you see up there won't be coming out. And you know, if you're sitting down on the ground at the lodge, you're not going to notice any difference really up there on that slope. And as a part of that field process, they also put in a field break that runs along the back side of that ridge, and then it runs back towards the state line. And we're going to continue that down the west side of the slope and connect it with the property down there on your neighbors where that large pond is, and we'll connect it down there. And so that's going to essentially create an island where that ridge line sits and the cabins and the lodge, to the point where it will make it more defensible if, heaven forbid, we were able to have wildfire that came through that area. So, and that was the plan we devised with State Forestry. So basically we're building on what was already done and just enhancing it. And the other opportunity that has come up as well with this is that we will be able to get the rest of the property logged this next winter as well. So we've been in touch with, again, Dick Terry has been working with Nyman Corporation to log their neighboring property as well as some state-owned property up there in the area. And the vicinity of that project has lent itself to also including Mallow Camp in that as well. And the really nice thing about including Mallow Camp is that we'll also be able to utilize Mallow Camp as an access point to get into not only Mallow property but also the neighboring property to be able to bring a lot of that timber out. And that was a discussion that I had with the board just on Wednesday night, because they do currently have an MOU with the Forest Service to be able to get that timber out, but it's going over other roads and it's a long haul and they have to come all the way out to Bulls Canyon Road. And so by having access to Mallow and logging Mallow and then having access to come out through the canyon, it's going to save them a lot of driving. It'll be able to make this a quicker process of getting it done. And I am excited about it too because this property was logged, I want to say about 20 or 25 years ago. It's been quite a while. And it hasn't been thinned since then. And so there's a lot of regen, there's a lot of smaller trees that are growing very thick on the property. And we talked with Matt Lottis with Nyman Corporation on Wednesday when I met with the board. He joined us by phone. Because of the weather, he wasn't able to make it down from Spearfish with all the snow and everything. But he did talk to them about one of the things that they've been doing along with logging properties now is they've actually been providing some stewardship management as well. So actually coming in with mastication heads on skid steers, for example, and removing a lot of the regen, so a lot of the smaller trees, and helping thinning the forest as well as taking any marketable timber. And so what that has provided is kind of a way, and it benefits Nyman because they're trying to get this property to a point where it's going to be able to regenerate and grow, healthy trees that they can come back in and log again. But it also helps to thin out the forest and helps to make a healthier forest and reduces fuels for potential wildfire and so on and so forth. So, and we haven't cruised the rest of the property yet. We haven't cruised that timber yet. That's something that Matt Lottis and myself, in working with State Forestry, will be doing probably this spring, is going out and looking at that and getting a better estimate of how much harvestable timber is there, how much is going to have to be removed, as part of the stewardship effort as well. And it may be that, depending on the situation and from what we kind of are suspecting from what little bit that we've seen on the property, is that it may end up being more of a break even on the logging. But we might be wrong. We might get back in there and find that there's more there. The board, when we met and talked about that on Wednesday, they were okay with that. If we can break even on it, great. It's always great if we can make some money. But when we're talking about managing the property in a healthy manner, if we can at least break even on that, I think that's a win as well. So that's kind of where that stands. Sorry, it's kind of a lot, but
no, we were kind of walking down to, because I think there's a main question that we were curious about. So I'm going to let Commissioner Barton ask that question. I think so. You did too.
I guess I asked for you guys to come in just because I was curious on where we were on the financial side of that.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's something that's really important that we maintain that character of that camp. And if we have a fire come through there and wipe it out, that's going to be tough. So are you saying that with the combination of the logging and thinning that maybe it'll pencil it out with maybe some conservation dollars, or are you still looking for us to step in on that?
Well, so I should back up and talk about the Fields project separately. So the Fields project, we do have grant money through the Wildland Urban Interface grant that we can cost share on that effort, and that is going to be a heavier treatment, and so that is going to take some dollars.
You know what I mean?
I don't know exactly. It's a lot less than what I had originally thought, because typically these treatments we're looking at, especially working on that slope, we could be looking at, total costs of $3,000 to $4,000 an acre potentially. But once we got up there, we walked through it, we looked at it, and like I said, I've been working with Dick Terry on it. I think it's going to be a lot less than that. I think the whole fields project is probably going to be less than $20,000 total cost.
What will your grant cover?
Our grant can cover 50%. Yeah. So I had originally told the board to be prepared for $15,000 to $20,000 cost. I'm thinking that it's going to be a little bit less than that. And again, the logging component, depending on how that shakes out, could help to balance that a little bit too. But the board really wanted to get that fuels project done this winter, and we're at this point looking at probably April, getting up in there and doing it. It'll depend a little bit on snow conditions and things like that, but the contractor I've been working with feels pretty confident he can get up there and get it done, because it'll be mostly handwork anyway. He's not going to have to get a lot of heavy equipment up in there, and the nice thing about that is that we're not going to be making a bunch of extra roads on the slope and things like that. We're not going to be doing much of that. It'll be pretty much all handwork, maybe a little bit up on top. There'll be some piling and things that will go on up on top, kind of where the water tower is in that vicinity. So I don't know a final number yet on the fuels project. I would anticipate the total cost probably around $20,000, and I can pay half of that with my grant. I wish I could pay more, but that's the parameters that I'm working under as well. So, so I think at this point in time we would need to be able to come up with 50%, or the county and or Mallow Board or both would need to come up with half of that. So probably between $10,000 and $15,000. And I'm trying to estimate on the high side because I would rather be high on my estimate than low. So, and then the logging project is not slated to start until December of 2023. But part of that restriction is because the neighboring property wants them, the Nyman Corporation, to hold off until after hunting season is over. Mallow Board, they're open to Nyman coming in as soon as end of September, when they stop having reservations up there. So it's very possible that logging might start around that time frame. So the time frames of themselves, it might make up some of that money, but there will have to be some of that funding put up initially this spring to be able to cover that. So,
Go ahead.
Didn't previous discussions, didn't we agree to go up to no more than 20,000 on our side of it?
I think they brought it before us. We never came to that conclusion.
Okay.
So I think they brought the subject before us.
We kicked some numbers around there.
Right.
I know we committed to helping them.
Right.
We didn't know for sure the dollar amount then.
Right.
Okay.
So what's the pleasure of this one? Or do you want to wait to see if there's another figure to come out? Go ahead.
Well, I would move to match 50%, not to exceed 20,000 on this project out of the ARPA funds. It's a good use of this fund. It's going to benefit generations to come to have that facility in there and taken care of.
Is there a second?
Second.
I moved and seconded for the Weston County to make a match of up to 50% of the 20,000.
50% up to 20,000.
Not to accept. You got that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Our match wouldn't exceed $20,000.
Okay.
And that should be more than enough money. Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion has passed. We appreciate you coming in and giving us an update.
Yep, you're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
And I will keep you
Merry
up to
Christmas.
date. Yes, I will keep you guys updated too once I get a better figure from the contractor as well, so that you guys can find a little bit closer. The other question I did have for you as a board is, how often would you like me to come in and update And I'm just saying, just regular updates from the district as far as what we're doing, and, you know, obviously if there's special projects, things like that, I can, you know, come in as needed, but on a regular basis, how often would the board like me to come in?
I think it's always nice to be kept up to date, so once a month would be nice. Now, the next board may change their mind, but so be that.
Okay.
Okay?
I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Email me that annual report.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and I'll just email it to the board.
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we're back to you, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. We ate into your time a little bit, but we're going to give it to you anyway, okay? So, you have the floor.
I think that we have probably pretty much discussed what we came in here to discuss. I would just like to reiterate to that. Sorry, Becky. I will be having somebody get a hold of you again and try to work with them until I have a deal and we can all go out there and look like what we had agreed to. And also, yeah, the gravel, like, you know, we kind of touched on that. The gravel has been wore off our Cheyenne River Road is terrible, and that's all going, you know, that's all going so that they can do drilling, you know, down in Niobrara County. Now, I thought that I had heard before one time, maybe Rick would, when he was here, they were hauling a bunch of gravel down there. Did he not come up with some funds, or didn't you come up with some funds that you got from the state that helped us to pay for the gravel that they were killing? Because they were, I thought that Rick got some mineral funds or something from the state. Is that something anybody knows anything about, or was that just kind of a rumor?
I don't believe we got funding for that. I remember that we discussed having a conversation about the Niobrara County Cheyenne River Road and sending a letter to those commissioners. I'm not sure that it came to fruition. Go ahead.
Did we use some of that? I can't remember if that one oak went down through that country, and if we used some of that money from that one oak MOU to gravel, that might have been some of it.
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of that, Tony, but this is a whole different deal. You know, this is, I don't know, the new company coming in to down and out is not Vermilion. You know, it was Vermilion before.
Right.
And they drilled wells and gravel trucks and sand trucks. And now it's the same thing, but it's a different company. But man, I mean, they've just got our roads out. They got the gravel all the, you know what these guys were talking about? Just a haze of truck, you know, I mean, I've got dust ammonia from it. I need a shot of LA 200, but that, that's cattle medicine. But anyway, it has just been terrible. But you know, Jason was out there the other day and we were talking, and there's spots where it's just dirt on the road again. And you know, the trouble that we had here a few years ago before we got it gravel bit. And I was just wondering if there's any way that we can go to the state. Is there any programs? Because the state gets the oil money, and then Niobrara County's getting the oil money, but they're burning the gravel off of our roads. And that was also tied into what we got to talking about. I think that our county needs to gravel the existing roads before we start to build the new roads. I do have one more question that I would like to have answered. Is there any actual revenue that is going to come from this new company, from mine and Bentonite? Does the county get any, I mean, do we get enough out of this deal that it will pay for our roads, or is it going to be a net cost to our county?
It's a very good question, but the same thing can be applied to most of us when we pay our property taxes and that type of thing. But you have to remember there's probably a severance tax that also we'll get a portion of that will come through a county avenue. So yes, there is still a benefit. You have all the workers, you have all the trucks, you have the gasoline purchases, the same conversations we can have with any type of industrial situation. And
I think that a lot of their Bentonite lease is maybe going to be down in Niobrara County also.
I'm not aware. I'm not sure. So I wouldn't be able to say yay or nay, or
It is.
Yeah.
But the conversation back on to your Cheyenne River Road, I do think it's, once again, because we had this issue before, is to have a conversation with the Niobrara County Commissioners. They have a parallel road,
And that would be for us to do, or that would be?
No,
you?
for us to do, that's not necessarily for you to.
I think that would be worth doing because, man, they burn a lot of our gravel.
Well, and I think they're eating up the rocks and road too. So, I think that would be appropriate. I'm speaking of what we did last time because it was such an issue. And I think it's advantageous that you can go use another county's road and tear theirs up when and we get to pay for it and you get to reap the rewards. So I would like for this board, if this board agrees, that we just write a letter. There's not much teeth we can put behind it, but go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the.
You are gonna go back.
as a same as a public highway, and the companies are out there working, if they can't hardly drive the speed limit on that Niobrara side road, or they can't get through there when it's muddy, they're gonna go use the good road and go around,
And that's exactly what happened last time, Tony. They used the Cheyenne River Road down below, and when it got to be impassable, we started getting rains, then they started using our road up our county, and then it would get to be impassable, then they'd start coming back around and coming from the west, and that's still our county having to keep up the road. And by that time, like Niobrara would have theirs fixed up, then they'd go use it, and then we'd get ours fixed up, and then pretty it was just a circus.
And I think, a lot of these, that's just a problem every county has, and I've seen some results where people have got MOUs with different companies, and we've used some to a limited degree, and if you've got a good corporate partner, they say, yeah, we're making some money out here, and we dang sure can kick a little bit back on the road, and that helps a lot. But there's just no teeth in it.
There's no teeth.
We can go to the negotiating table, and if you want to be a good partner. I don't know who is it. Is it New Wave that's out there now?
I believe that's the name that I heard.
Right.
And I think if they figure on drilling 3 wells, they're starting to move rigs in on the one. But, with all the support stuff, for them lateral wells, all the support stuff, it's just going to be nonstop traffic. That's okay. And like now we're okay. But boy, in the springtime, we're going to have them. You couldn't get through them. That's terrible.
Well, that's about the only teeth we have, is we can shut roads down for, frost law, and weight that stuff down. But at the end of the day, we've got to have a little economy in this county too,
Well, that's
how do
true
we
too.
balance
But,
that?
and you just said something. We could impose weight limits, can't we, in the spring when the frost is coming out?
It takes quite a. We've already.
We got to have somebody to weigh them.
We went through a whole issue of that, and the cost benefit was not there. It was not there. So
They tear up the cattle guards. I know Jimmy's sending guys out to my place because the cattle guards get tore up pretty often.
we understand, but we did that one time before, and we brought in other people, and it was quite an interesting education.
So we would have to weigh them at the highway when they turn on.
Yeah. Well, then the danger is somebody's trying to bring cows on the cab or something, and you got a cattle plot ain't gonna get across that weight deal, So.
Nope. Or water. Go ahead.
Would it be, Jimmy, would you think it'd be worth reaching out to the oil companies, see if they'd want to do an MOU, maybe kick us some money to help do the road? Since they're the one to come this way, at least we could reach out to them and see.
You got a contact them?
No, I don't. I could probably get a contact. Cody Stewart, they're down on his place. I could probably get a contact.
Could you send it to our clerk?
Right.
Could you send it to our clerk, the contact information?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can give you a call back.
All right. That'd be great. Any other questions? Anything else? Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for making the trip.
I think we
Merry
pretty
Christmas.
well covered it. I will have Tad again get a hold of you and see, and ask if we can all meet down there like what we had talked about before. And we can kind of show you what our big concerns are. And I still think, that if we can talk to Halliburton and have them build a bridge, they already have an easement on Old 85. They have an easement all the way up. There'd be less gravel roads. We don't have roads to maintain. I just think that it's a no-brainer for them to have a bridge across on Old Highway 85, but, just no brainer.
Thank you.
I guess we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You're up, Richard. Please state your name.
Oh, the joy.
Oh,
the joy. Is that spelled with the W?
Well, don't be afraid.
Okay.
I left the bandage on so women and children wouldn't be affected.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Rick Dunford, or Frederick B. Dunford,
And you're with?
Chairman of the County Planning Commission.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Frederick. Well, few people do. I don't know if it's embarrassing or not.
I look like Freddy Krueger right at this moment, but I'm looking at the same.
That's exactly what I feel.
Go ahead, I'm not.
Worse than it looks. I think you have a letter in front of you.
No,
No, we don't.
you're gonna read it.
Oh, okay. This was received by Becky the other day, November 4th, which we just, I don't know what happened, but dear Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. There's limited documentation of function or process for the Planning and Zoning Board. I do not understand the responsibilities of board officers, specifically the Secretary. This commission is operating on rules and regulations based on Wyoming State Statutes of 2012. After being on the board for a year and a half and being present for all 4 meetings during that time, there seems to be no appetite to update rules, regulations, or application. Please accept my resignation as Planning and Zoning Board upon receiving this letter, Susan Love.
Which we have not, this is the first we've heard of the letter, so we have not accepted or denied. We can hand it down.
You guys can read it. I have no look inside of Susan Love's head. But to be perfectly candid, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know if the job, she thought she was going to come into something and going to reorganize everything and all that sort of thing. There's nothing to do. We meet as needed, as you guys know. Sometimes there's controversy, sometimes there's not. It's really straightforward. And the statutes, I think, were actually before 2012. I think that was the PDD business of 2012. So very straightforward. So I can't speak for her. I don't know where her head is at on this, but I think the letter sort of tells you that she thought it was a much bigger deal. And even she refused to become secretary until you guys approved her position. Well, that doesn't happen. The board does it internally. President, chairman, vice chairman, secretary, etc. We don't need a treasurer, obviously. There's no money to be spent. We have a budget of, I think, $1,000 a year for school to go to one of the board seminars, that sort of thing. So I'm a little confused, but I thought I ought to bring you up to date on it and let you know what's going on. So we now are down to 3, basically 2. Dan lives way out, and sometimes he's missed a couple of meetings. To Carol and myself. The problem, of course, is that we won't have a quorum. And we've had the ad in the paper. I've seen it any number of times about board members, and we know how the joining generation is doing these days. But it doesn't happen. Something else is going on. We had another involvement with the town on a piece of land right up by the water tank there. Senator Driscoll and that whole thing again. And they came in here and we're going to do this business, and in fact it's illegal. And what they want to do, they can't do. And so just be aware that there may be some more of that going on. We talked to the town about it. I've talked to Becky about it. Again, they wanted to buy land, not go through the proper paperwork. And it's the first time this happened that we had quite the conflict with that group at the water tank when the town took over that property at the water tank. So it's kind of an ongoing thing, and hopefully we'll get through it. The town's aware of what's going on.
Let me ask a question of our county attorney. So if they only have 2, and so they don't have a quorum. I mean, the ultimate decision comes to the Board of County Commissioners. They just make recommendations and bring them forward to us. Is that a problem? I mean, should it come immediately? If they're not going to get a quorum, should it come here instead? That's my question.
I think they have the authority. They have to make the recommendation, right? I think
Right.
it's a problem if they don't have a quorum.
So it would almost have to come to here.
And state statute says that if their board can't function, then you act as the PNC.
Yeah, correct. Okay.
So, you know, and it's not that we actually had a fair amount to do. You know, some things are going on. Anderson's been busy doing his things around. And had things. Again, you read her letter between the lines. It just seemed that when they came on board that they were. This was all going to be a big deal. It's not. It's pretty low key. The board has a right. Actually, I read the rules and regulations again for the 450th time. It says in there that we actually can deny a project.
Absolutely. Commissioner can override it.
And then send you the letter saying that we denied it, and you guys, of course, make the final judgment, which is fine. It works well. You know, we haven't had any problem with that. Another thing that's come up recently, and I talked to Michael, he probably has forgotten about this in the time that we talked about it. The Cook County attorney, this came out of that first Driscoll business, says that the repeal of the sphere of influence that you and I have talked about over time is they did it, but only if the county has zoning. And I would love to have the county attorney find out where that comes from, because they did repeal those sphere of influence rules, the towns, the mile thing. But if you have to have zoning, then of course we're right back to square one again with cooperating with Upton and Newcastle. So we need to make sure. Well, I mean, we just send a letter, get double plans. It really does affect the process a little bit. It's not. So it'd be nice to find out if that's really what happened.
Correct. And just so you guys know, this letter, I did not know that she had handed this in. She had tucked it under some minutes that she had filed. So it was all just filed together. And then she emailed me, like just last week, and said, oh, by the way, my resignation letter was in with those minutes. So that's why you guys didn't get this until now. Thank you for that.
The other thing I would say is if you could ask the county attorney to look into that, so you know whether or not the repeal of that sphere of influence included the zoning.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for you've been serving on that planning and zoning before I was a commissioner, so thank you for your service on that.
I think I'm over 10 years now.
Yeah. I just had a couple thoughts. I know if I've ever heard a complaint about planning and zoning, it was about not getting a quorum together, you know, and that's something that you guys have struggled with for as long as I've been here, I think, just about. I didn't know if, you know, whether it creates a conflict, if we're the final oversight on that, if we could, either you could change your bylaws for a quorum to the members present makes, you know, at least two or something makes a quorum or not. If not, you know, you could have like de facto members on the commission where, you know,
You can't have de facto members. One of the members is the chairman.
Yeah, actually, way back when, Randy Rossman, we were short, and he had come to a couple of our meetings and was the third person, and it worked out. I mean, that's specifically laid out in the state statute for you guys to participate if you want to do that. But again, here's another meeting, and you know, you guys are up to your eyeballs in meetings and that sort of thing.
Well, this doesn't have any effect on me, so I think that's a great idea. Everybody will give you their cell phone number. Yeah. You get you a quorum together.
Yeah, the cell phone number we need to do was get in the courthouse. We've been out in the hallway here last time or the time before.
Well, you mess with our chairs, so that's why. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, for the shorter individuals, the taller people need them jacked up in the air a little bit.
We're just kidding.
So anyway, that's really what's going on. Since I've seen you also last time, I went to the city of Upton. and gave them an update on planning, what's been going on and that sort of thing. And they had a number of questions. The clerk out there, she's been great. They had a couple projects coming in. They're doing that whole golf course realignment thing. There's the golf course apparently was all incorporated as sort of one with a bunch of 11 lots for sale on the other side of the road, and now they're trying to figure that whole thing out. And so she had called me for some information on what to do and how to deed that sort of thing, based on my experience. So anyway, it was a good meeting, and I'm going out there once a year to keep them informed of what's going on. Scare them. They see a county official out there like that. Didn't know how to act.
They don't like the law and watch out in the trees.
Well, yeah, that's the big question. You in the trees or on the curb?
Where's that coming from, a Kirk County guy?
Yeah. So that's the big question: is the sphere of influence thing.
Well, that'd be good to
zoning
even reach out and see what other counties do. I know the issue came up because of the Albany County, and a big industrial site was out there, and it encroached onto the county, and the county fought back because of curb and gutter lighting, drainage.
Oh yeah.
So and
the rules changed big time. I mean, you couldn't do half of what we do around here with those other rules if there were zoning. I mean, you set your own zoning. One of the scary things for people who look at is zoning. I remember the big conversation with Wyoming Club. I had a couple of gentlemen ask me who lived way south of town, had ranches or apartments, property, what zoning would do at Wyoming Club, how that would affect their property. And the misconceptions about zoning are legendary, but it does make a difference when you're doing an industrial thing on the property line for a town. So.
But we covered it with a PUD, so go ahead.
Yep.
Well, I think, that's something that this next board's gonna have to kind of keep looking at, but, in Cook County, where I live now, you've seen a pretty rapid change up there, and it's getting to be where it's just a bunch of 40-acre ranches up there, and it dang sure can happen, and probably will happen down here at some point, and the public and this board is gonna have to have a conversation about if that's what you want this county to look like or not.
The other thing too, to your question about can you change or redo the rules and regulations, we've looked into that, and it is a nightmare. I mean, it gets into public hearings, and it's got to go on for months, and just to change a single word. And I actually talked to Mike about that a while back. We had a couple ideas that we wanted to change, simple word changes in our basic rules, and we can't do it. We have to go through this public hearings and on and on and on.
You have to go through the state too.
Procedures Act.
Yep, you have to go through the ministry.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. You'd think simple little adjustments like that would be easy to do, but the state has made it just terrible.
But it is possible, because we did do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it a couple times now.
Yeah, the PUD thing, we finally got the PUD put together. That's one thing I talked to Upton about. They had no idea what that was.
But we have one, so they should be able to step into that.
Well, we sent them the PUD rules and regulations for Upton. Anything else, John? And Madam?
Okay, well, before us, we have a resignation letter. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move to accept it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Pick your second.
Who did it? I heard Dawn.
Okay, that works then. Been moving and seconded to accept the resignation of Susan Love from the Weston County Planning and Zoning Board. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Would it be worthwhile to talk to her face to face, or is it just done?
I think it's done.
Okay.
Also, call her. Information is known. So call her if you'd like to. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion is carried. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. It's nice to see you. I would like to see you with a better face next time.
Well, me too. Walking the dog, and I caught my toe, and he was jerking, and I did a face palm.
How's the dog?
Dog's fine.
I mean, okay.
He was
I mean, I
30
love
feet
you, Rick,
away
but
on
I'm
the
kind of an animal one.
phone.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about your face.
Me too.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Could be right on with that.
Yeah, you did drop.
Yeah, the big victim was my 40-year-old Ray-Bans.
Oh, dang it.
Oh.
Right there, broke them, and that's what did all the damage.
Oh, no.
I had them put on too.
Oh.
Thanks, guys. I'm available whenever you need me.
Thank you.
Yeah, next time take your dog on an F-150 ride or whatever those go. All right, next we have is old business. Is there any old business here? You didn't put anything on here.
Just add on new.
Okay, let's just jump to new business. Go ahead, Ed.
Last week we were supposed to go to Douglas for the WCCA meeting. They canceled. We did it all virtual. Elected new officers. New officer, chairman is Bill Novotny. Vice chair is Natalie Macker, and our new treasurer is Robert Short, Commissioner Short out of Converse County. One of the things come out of it on the national level, Commissioner Epstein was back in Washington. What they're wanting to do, and it's all going to be voluntary, is on that tribal money that's coming out, is set, every county have basically set 1% of that back to the national level to work on funding, maybe looking into future funding on this. Some of the, I mean, ours won't be that much, but some of the counties, they've already received, $9 to $12 million checks, some of them have. So they thought it'd be the fairest way to be doing it is like just a 1%, because they put it out there, like if somebody give you a $100 bill, would you give $1 back to maybe ensure that you get $100 next year?
Let's demonstrate that. Go ahead, try it.
But I mean, that was something it'll have to go through, and it'll be handled through the WCCA. So that was something that's going to be coming down the pipe later on. Just to let everybody aware of that was what's coming on with that.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions for him?
Is that how the math works in Washington, D.C.? Like he's spending $100, and as long as they give you $100 back, you can spend $100 next year again?
I think you have to add a couple more zeros.
A couple more zeros? Okay.
The inflation's going to figure into it. But that's something that's going to be coming down. Just let everybody aware of that. We're kicking around.
So when's the legislative session start up?
The 17th, or the 18th.
18th and 19th.
18th, 19th,
Down
20th,
there.
yep. Starts on the 18th. Day after our commission meeting.
I encourage the 2 new commissioners to go. That's next to the budget. The budget is your number one job. But your other job is because the Board of County Commissioners is regulated by state statute. Not much you get to do. The state doesn't tell you what to do. You have an incredible ability to influence that. And the WCCA is one of the largest lobbying groups along with WAM, and to facilitate lobbying for that. And so, as a county commissioner, you have a voice and a very equal voice in the WCCA to stand up and say how that would affect this county. Because even though we're all somewhat different, we all have to fall under the same state statute. And so influences do happen, different things happen. We don't see things the same thing as Teton County does. But when the state statute has to envelop all of us, it's good to know what those two ends are so that they can come to a middle. Or maybe not, you just can't get that figured out. And so what will happen is a majority, it's a complicated system, but it's the system that's been well worked out of what the WCCA will stand up or go against. And so that's your time. There's a chance that Weston County won't feel that way the same as the state does or this group does. You also have the ability to step back with acknowledgement to the WCCA that Weston County will not be supporting that type of legislation. We've done it before. I stepped out of a couple of them that we didn't feel were appropriate for us. So I encourage you to go down there. There's another aspect to that, and the fact that it's networking. So go ahead.
I was going to add one thing to Ed's deal. They did a cybersecurity deal. what would I call it? It was a presentation that Nyberg County actually got. Did you hear about this? They actually got, they paid the ransom for everything. So people need to really be careful and do their due diligence and watching out what we're looking at or opening up or whatever. I mean, it's kind of spooky. So.
And I would ask that if you do go down to the legislative, every time that they have, or even to the WCCA conventions, go to every single educational seminar that they have, even if it's repetitive, because it's amazing what you'll pick up after 3 or 4 times. But the legislative one mostly is to teach you about legislation. Go ahead.
You know, on that too, same note on that. What's not nice about the legislative session there is every county may not agree, but what comes out of that is the WCCA, all the counties support the WCCA, so we're not on a divided front when it comes to some of the things. Even though we may not all agree on the backside of it, when it comes up front, everybody's on the same page. We have a very strong voice in Cheyenne.
And just a piece to add to that, I would encourage you not always to sit with your county. I would tell you that sometimes it's worth your time, even though it's uncomfortable, it's weird, it's strange. There's not a county commissioner in that group that hasn't been there before, hasn't had that same feeling of, OMG, what am I doing? Go sit, go find one that is, maybe has a little more sage. Go sit with them. They've been there. They know what it's feel like to be the newbie. And go find out. Go ask questions. They are going to answer your questions. And you may get 23 different other questions or 94 different questions or answers, but it's worth your time. It's worth your time. Hans Hunt one time said that the legislative process was like learning to drink from a fire hose. County Commission is too. You gotta learn to breathe too without water coming at you. So, but that's how you immerse yourself and get to know and can support your county the best you can. So, any other? Okay, any public comment? Go ahead.
Hi, I am going to ask.
Please state your name.
Susan Overman, treasurer. I'm going to ask the board to put on their ARPA monies, I guess you're going to call it, your ARPA list, new windows for this building and update the electrical system. We had an incident the other day that Becky tripped a breaker in her office. She went down to re-trip it or fix it, and that panel was very, very hot. So she called in the electrician. The electricians did his little scan, and it was way over what it should have been. And then my office was second and then there was another one too. There was us. I thought there was 3.
No, just John.
But it didn't shock you, huh?
No, she burned herself almost.
No, but when I tripped it, it was so hot to touch, I knew that something wasn't right. So I called the electrician to come in, and we got scolded on our heater,
on the space heaters.
But it's so cold in here.
You guys are pulling too much juice for the breaker.
Yes.
Yes. But we freeze.
It's fully understood, and it's been a constant problem with this building probably since the day they put the first roof down.
Yep.
What, in Northeast Wyoming?
Yeah, Weston County is cold. And I think we've had this discussion before about, floor heaters and desk heaters, and we even had a discussion one time about candles and, all that. So I think there's obviously an issue, but you're also dealing with a 110-year-old building that kind of snickers at you and says, I'm 110.
He told us how to.
He said that they
better.
could run circuits or new lines or whatever, but it'd be conduit up against the wall for this new circuits. But I would like to see that you guys take the money and put into this building and remodel the 3 rooms on this floor like you guys did for the assessor, so it's all uniform. And then get the electric updated at the same time.
I'm going to agree with you because I think that was the whole plan. And then
It's been the plan several times.
well, there's been this weird little virus that came along and tripped everybody and messed everybody up. But I think a future board needs to consider that that was on our plan, and we have. Remember, we hired to. We have a strategic plan for this building, and I think the new members probably should get a copy of that. Because it was kind of set out what we were going to do. We skipped a couple steps, but that was money related. So yeah, the whole idea was we were going to get all the windows done and that. So I think that is an appropriate thing to ask for. Go ahead.
Comment or public comment. If I remember right, we were gonna maybe do this room. We're gonna do this room last, but we were gonna we'd move the treasurers in here,
And we do our room.
do that room, and then move you back. Move the clerk in here, do that room, and then do this one last. I guess it could be done first too, and then it seemed like we're gonna try to run commissioner meetings either upstairs or down at the annex or something.
Even downstairs, I think we contemplated it. I mean, the plan is there. So I just think what happened is, anytime you make plans, that's how you hear God laugh.
Yeah, but I would like the board to put this on the top priority.
Fair enough.
Instead of just, you've got the elevator going, you've got the dispatch going.
Fair enough. Thank you, Susie. Yep. Anything else? Any other public? Go ahead.
I just wanted to give you and Tony an opportunity to go ahead and say what you would like to say to the citizens of Weston County on this your last meeting here.
Go ahead, Tony.
I haven't prepared a speech. It's been an honor to serve you guys. Hope I've done some good things. I think I have. Wish you two the best of luck. It's a rewarding job. It's not always a fun job. I encourage you to try to hear the other side of the story before you make a judgment. Probably the best lesson that I was ever taught. And Bill Lambert taught me that. And it's not the easiest to do sometimes. I haven't been perfect on that, especially when you got a room full of angry people. It's pretty easy to hear that side of it and make your decision. But I encourage you to try to hear that other side of the story. Thanks you guys for serving with me.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
So, of course I like to write a lot, but I haven't sat down and written anything because what happens is these incredible things start bombing you. Like after 12 years, you have these incredible moments that are something else. But there was a Saturday Night Live person just resigned, and I'm not necessarily a Saturday Night Live person, but what she stated in her leading, I would like to quote her if you don't mind, because it was pretty cool. So it was, I think her name is Cecilia Strong on Saturday Night Live, and she said, "It's just my time now. But I've had so much fun here, and I feel really lucky that I got to have so many of the best moments of my life in this place with the people that I love." So, to quote her, and that's how I felt about it. Sorry if my voice gets a little wavery, but 12 years is a long time. And through all of it, even the darker or the interesting times, those were times that we learned, and you learn who you are, you learn who other people are, and you adjust accordingly. And in 12 years, you do a lot of growing up, you do a lot of expanding your mind, and I encourage the new to never stop learning. Don Hansen, who was a former county attorney, about I don't know, maybe 6 months into it, I'm sitting down there where Ed's sitting. He turned to me and he said, "How come you newbies always think you're so much smarter than the people you replace?" And he offended. And I thought, because I'm younger, I see the world differently. You know, I had a whole bunch of just platitudes, but I had a whole bunch of but it sat there for a long time and thought, you know, there's a lot of institutional knowledge sitting, and I encourage you to use it. It's there. There are a lot of county commissioners that are walking around, and just because somebody says, well, that's not how we did it, or it didn't work that way or in our day, still knowing what the history is important. And there is a lot out there. So I appreciate it. It's been an honor and a privilege. Some of it, like I said, some of the greatest times. And I appreciate the citizens of Weston County allowing me to do that. So best of luck. And wish everything. And you guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Becky. And all to the citizens.
Thank you.
So
Cake at 1. Cake at 1. Come back.
we have cake. Cool. All right. And we're supposed to be here.
Both of you.
So thank you very much.